Hi there, everybody. So this is my book review for Hunting Sirens. Hunting Sirens is the second book to the Legends of Neverland series written by, I want to make sure I don't butcher the name, Mary Mecham? I think that's how you say it. Mary, if you see this video, if I say the name wrong, please correct me. But yeah. So Hunting Sirens is the sequel to Becoming Hook, but it can be read as a standalone. You don't really have to read the first book to read the second book to understand what's going on. However, there are some tie-ins with the first book. Some characters return from the first book into the second book, which I got very giddy about. But you don't need to read it to understand what's going on. Now, just like how Becoming Hook was a retelling of Peter Pan, Hunting Sirens is a retelling of The Little Mermaid, except for it's gender swapped. Your female main character is the narrator of the story, and it is written in her point of view. And what I found interesting about the book is that she is deaf. And how does Mary write her narration while she is deaf? She doesn't add any sounds or describing any sounds while she narrates the story. So, as an example, say a sword falls onto the ground or lands on like wood or stone or something like that. Normally, to show your story, to show what's happening, you would make mention of the metal clanging, clinking, whatever, banging against the stone or whatever it is that it hits. In this scenario, the character will just say that they saw the sword hit whatever the ground was, or the metal hit the ground, but it wouldn't describe the sound. It would just say that the sword hit the ground. And maybe it would describe how in the sunlight the metal would reflect the sunlight or whatever. But that was a really unique way of writing it, and I won't speak for the deaf community because I'm neither deaf nor hard of hearing, but I felt that was a really interesting and great way to write this character. And again, I'm not going to speak for them, but I think it was a great representation for someone who is deaf. And if you don't agree with me, please let me know, and I will correct that. Now, what interested me with this book was that it's an enemies to lovers romance. Now, a quick side note, I haven't done a whole lot of reading up until recently in a very long time. I want to say I've read more or even listened to audiobooks for those of you who may or may not count those as well. I've read more books in the last 2 to 3 months than I've had in the span of 5 years, if not longer than that, between everything in my life that I hadn't found the love of reading like I've had recently. So, reading an enemies to lovers romance was new to me. I'm not as attuned or knowledgeable, rather, of what an enemies to lovers romance entails. But I felt that this was a really great, not subtle, but a decent way for me to get into an enemies to lovers romance. I don't know how I feel about enemies to lovers romances, but this one was executed very nicely. I enjoyed the banter that the main character Treva had with the romantic interest, and I felt that their romance really blossomed really well in this story. I enjoyed seeing how at first she was very against getting into this romance or getting into romance at all, because I'm in that way. I'm kind of in that mind frame or that headspace, and in a way I saw myself in Triva where she is so into her work that she's like, screw romance. I don't need bromance. And if and when something happens where I may or may not get involved in romance, I don't know. But I liked how she was like, I can't be falling for somebody, but maybe I am. Maybe I am. Which I felt was kind of, it was really cute for me. And in a way, I kind of saw myself like that with her a little bit. But not only did I enjoy the chemistry between her and her love interest, I loved seeing the chemistry that she had, the platonic chemistry that she had with her friends and her family. I loved how they were able to banter with each other, even if it was all in sign language. It was so lovely to see familiar bonds with her brother, with her parents, with her cousins, who were all... It was so nice. It was awesome to see that her family supported her, even with her being deaf, which I feel is really nice to see. And I love seeing the bantering. Overall, I really enjoyed Hunting Sirens. Now, will I put this over Becoming Hook? I can't confirm nor deny. I really enjoyed Becoming Hook. That was probably the most fun I've had in reading a book in a very long time. Like I said, I haven't read a lot in the last 10 plus years, and Becoming Hook, in all honesty, brought me back into reading, and I am looking forward to reading what's coming next, which, by the way, the next book in the series, which is next for me to read, is Betraying Korth. It looks like it ties very heavily to book 2, but again, you don't have to... if you are just getting into these books, I suggest you go Becoming Hook, Hunting Sirens, and Betraying Korth, but Mary does say that you don't necessarily have to read them in order for you to understand the plot, but it looks like there's some really heavy tie-ins with that one, which I'm very excited about reading. But overall, that is my book review for Hunting Sirens. I thoroughly enjoyed this book. If you like enemies to lovers, I highly recommend you read this one. You will not be disappointed.